We'll just take a few seconds to do the setup for the next leadership keynote. And this leadership keynote is about driving beyond the bottom line. And our keynote speaker is Mr. Prasenjit Roy, CMO, NTT Limited India, NTT Global Data Centers and Cloud Infrastructure, APAC. I will request Mr. Prasenjit Roy, while we do the setup. He's ready and absolutely ready to come on stage, and I will hand over the session to Mr. Prasenjit Roy. Sir.
Thank you very much. Very good afternoon. Very few organizations last for a century in this world, and ABP is now part of the prestigious honor and legacy of enterprises. I can very well relate to this because I come from NTT, which has a heritage of 150 plus years. So hearty congratulations to ABP for achieving this, and this is a phenomenal achievement. And many thanks to ABP for inviting me here to talk about this session, which is driving beyond the bottom line. What I'm going to delve into this session is beyond your top line and bottom line, beyond your business strategy, beyond your business transformations, beyond your customer acquisitions, everything beyond that. I'm going to talk about a paradigm of business, okay? Since this is very vast and broad, I'm going to pick up a few nuggets, okay? And substantiate with examples from my company and other corporates, okay? So, it's common for people to understand and believe that businesses exist to do one thing, that is to make money. But this isn't entirely true. When businesses have a higher purpose, they can really bring in a significant change and do a world of good for the humankind. I also know that it's difficult for people to understand what is a higher purpose, because they still feel the higher purpose is to make money. The bigger purpose of business is to do something which is beyond your bottom line, beyond your profits. And we need to look at that particular aspect as we move on. If you have read the book, Good to Great by author Jim Collins, he has stated very, very specifically the success that those great companies have strived and strive hard for beyond the financial success. They have done it because they were motivated by higher values. So this is some of the agenda I'm going to talk about today. It's covering 5 different angles, and I'm going to touch on each of those angles as I move along. In this particular case, the whole thing is, if I'm doing business consciously, and that is the key to success, how do I upgrade the status of my society and of the planet that I live in? The first and foremost, I'm going to talk about sustainability canvas. So, you are aware that United Nations has come out with 17 Sustainable Development Goals, SDG. Like all big enterprises in the world, NTT is also part of them. We have a commitment towards the 17 SDGs. But like all other global enterprises, we have owned one, and that is the goal 11, which is basically talking about sustainability communities and cities. Why we are doing this? Because we feel that we are very well aligned to this because of our central theme of the connected, enabling the connected future. Internally, how do we align to it? So NTT is, among the different business lines, is one of the top 3 global data center players in the world. So we have more than 175 data centers across the world. We are number 1 in India by a long margin. And we basically, when we look at sustainability, in fact, on the same lines, let me add to the people from Calcutta, you'll be happy to know that we are taking up a 7.5 acres of land in Calcutta and building up a campus of data centers. In fact, work is going to start from this month only. So we look at 5 different areas when we build up any facilities, and that's a green facility. So the facilities that we talk about has to have a parameter of energy into it. So basically looking at conservation of energy, alternate energy, look at the construction, what are the materials being used for that, look at the treatment of the water, how do you use the water, look at the management of the e-waste, and as well as look at the cooling and heating, because if you are familiar with the data center, you know it's like a power guzzler. How do you work around the cooling and treatment of it, because it consumes too much of power. Externally, now I will talk about some connected themes externally, which are basically related to the environment. And we have picked up 3 connected themes for this. So one is basically talking about the connected planet, the connected economy, and the connected communities. So when we're talking about the connected planet, I'm talking about using tech solutions that help protect, restore, and regenerate the natural world. And the three different priorities that we have in this connected planet are looking at climate change, biodiversity, and circularity. On the connected economy, I'm using trusted technology to help organizations thrive and make contributions, which is beyond and helping them for the resilient digital future. So smart solutions, privacy, security, ethics, value, and governance. And lastly, on the connected communities, we are basically supporting the diverse, inclusive, and accessible communities to ensure that everyone has an opportunity to thrive in this particular world. You have heard about net zero. You know what a net zero is. The question is, and it should not be a buzzword or lip service, which is basically becoming the fad. Are you all, or are we all doing the net zero in our own sphere of life? As far as entity is concerned, we have committed about net zero from the data center business in India by 27, 28, and as far as entity global by 2030 in scope 1 and 2, and by 2040 by scope 4. How many of us in this audience have committed to a net zero sustainability program? So basically what we're trying to say is we need to do much beyond business and to own things up, okay? And have a key play in the sustainability because it concerns everyone. It's the future. The next one is employees. How are we looking at employees? If you look at today's business, the key thing is humanizing the brand. Okay, employees that basically look at substantiating the strengths of a leader and compensating for their weakness. Are we looking at the employees as a whole? And if we are, what are we doing in that? Don't forget, if you're talking about CX or customer experience, the CX actually starts from EX, which is the employee experience. Employees are the center of everything. How many organizations really have full-fledged programs about the employees? How many do the EX on an annual basis or a semi-annual basis? We take the employees at times, unfortunately, for granted. Okay? And that's the biggest mistake we start making. So basically look at emotional engagement, look at communications, look at something which is beyond their work. The other aspect of employee is, are you helping them in the reskilling and upskilling? If you are, what are you doing? What are your different objectives that you have? Like, for example, in Entity, we ensure that the senior management, the top management, and even the mid management, they basically are taken for a campus, 3 days or 4 days of campus, where they sit in the university campus and go through different classroom teachings, brainstormings. Okay, this is an important parcel of life. You have to ensure your employees are looked after and skilled. Because if you have, some of you may be knowing the quote of Alvin Toffler, okay, the author and the futurist, who said, the illiterates of the 21st century are the ones who do not know how to learn, unlearn, and relearn. Okay? So always remember this. This is a very, very vital step. Employee activities. Are they only doing your work for the business? Are they doing only for the skilling, upskilling? No, certainly not. They should have a 360-degree view. If they need to know, you need to have a bonding activities which is beyond your office work. Like, for example, we have a cricketing and other sports activities which is on the corner. They should be aware of what's happening in the ecosystem. Be it the Earth Hour, be it the conservation of the ecosystem, cleaning up the beaches, or even looking at the wellness of the employees. Are we doing enough in terms of ensuring the health and safety and wellness of not only the employees, but their family members? In Entity, the family members of the employees are a part of the team. We ensure they come and visit our office on a very frequent basis. So the families of the employees, if you get them connected, you are building up a bond with the employees. So if the employees wants to have, in the light of so much high attrition, they will come and be a barrier in their living. If I'm looking at conscious business, basically if you look at, there are 3 dimensions. One is the impersonal one, where we're talking about something shareholder value, we're talking about productivity, etc. The other one, we're talking about interpersonal, between the employees. And the third one is personal. If in a conscious business, I talked about conscious capitalism, I talked about conscious work culture, now this is conscious business, where I need to have a harmony between these 3 dimensions in order to be effective. The third nugget on customer. Everyone is interested in getting a customer, getting a purchase order. If you look at how are you really nurturing the customers? If you look at a typical customer journey, everyone is in 1, 2, 3, and 4, where you get the customers, acquire the customers, and you start celebrating. The real game begins with 5, 6, 7, and 8. What are you doing with the customers? How are you treating the customers, and how is it going to be a value enhancer for your business? Very few companies do this. They basically work with the customers in charting out a future roadmap. They do co-innovation labs. They basically work with the customers in deriving what will be the future strategy, not only with the customers. Some companies have taken to the level of being on the board of those customers and deciding the strategy and expansion plans. This is a real nurturing of the customers going beyond the mere acquisition and the purchase order. The other one, customer advisory councils, where you get a set of customers and you interact with them, not talk business, not talk shop, but basically talk on something topical, something which is of interest, something of their problem areas. What is their problem areas is actually your problem areas. And what you, as a company you tend to gain a lot of things, be it in terms of innovation, be it in terms of market insights, be it in terms of knowing what's happening in the ecosystem, and all. And finally is the customer loyalty, the cementing, the bonding that comes in, okay? So there's a whole lot of benefit that you derive if you play your card well and look at areas which is beyond the typical transactions that all of us do on a daily basis. Societal impact. Companies are very open and raise their hand and say, yes, we do CSR. The easiest thing in the world is to write a check of 2% as a CSR. Anyone can do it. Anyone can do it. There's no great shakes in that. What are you doing beyond that? Is your skin in the game? Are you owning anything? That is a question we should be asking ourselves, not writing a check of 2%. There's a school in Bombay, which NTT has been associated, deeply associated. In fact, it's in the fabric of NTT for the last 6 to 7 years. It's a girls' school. We take care of this school in and out, not only from the educational point of view, intellectual development point of view. We set up their technology labs. We set up their science labs. We organize the field visits. They come and visit us. We have engineers looking after their entire setup in the school. And the owning part comes in when each and every part of their activity, we are part of it. So be it your school day, be it your sports day, be it your children's day, you name it. Our senior executives of NTT are there at the premises. This is called embedding in the deep fabric of the company. This is called owning it end to end. This is called, we call it our school. We have to live it. Going beyond the girls' education, a lot of women have suffered pre-pandemic and during the pandemic. They have moved out of their corporate life, for whatever reasons. We're not getting into it. As a corporate, we came forward and said, we need to help those women to come back to the mainstream, to come back to the work area. So we basically look at Academy of Women Empowerment. Women who wants to come into the technology sector, we are giving them training. Post the training, we are absorbing them in our workplace. So basically, we are reaching out to those women who needs help to come back and be a part of the technology workforce. There are other companies who have played a great role in this. This is the e-chopper that has happened through some of the FMCG companies. Right now, it's more than, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it is around 4 lakh or more than 5 lakhs of farmers who have benefited from this program. It has spread over 35,000 villages. A great way of enhancing the life of people in the ecosystem. When we talk about ecosystem, it need not be that we are talking about metros and the main cities. It has to be all inclusive. It has to spread across the tier 4, tier 5 cities of the country. Internet connectivity, we felt the maximum during the pandemic. Okay, and the villages or the tier 3, tier 4 were the maximum impact. That is where corporations, multinationals and Indians came forward and provided connectivity. The poor children in those tier 3, tier 4 villages had a means to continue with their education. Otherwise, they would have been left behind. This is coming and doing for the betterment, upliftment of the society, social upliftment we talked about. This is real, a positive impact. Are we as business doing this, or are we just writing a check for 2% to the CSR and then fine, we are doing some social work? There's a difference in this too. That's why when talking about we need to do all this, which is beyond the bottom line. Leveraging technology. We come from tech space. How are we leveraging the technology? And what is our play in this? This can be a real game changer. This can be a force multiplier if you can play it well. I'll call out some examples for you to understand. So there is this park in South Africa, Kruger National Park. They were hit by poachers, okay, and the population of rhinos was declining. And we needed to do something to prevent the rhinos from being extinct. So we had technologies that came into the park, and we used the integrated technology across, and we could track the movements of people moving around the park. The poaching came down by 95% using technology. This is something we did because we said that we need to do something for the conservation. And this is one of our beats that we went ahead. In this particular world, because of medicine and others, people are living longer. Because of that, the flip side is people who have dementia, the numbers are increasing. Currently, as we stand, I think more than 50 million of them suffer from dementia, and as per some health stats which I got, around more than 10 million are getting added to it. It's a huge problem. How can technology be good to them? Technology can come in, and we have multi-sensory experience centers that we have from the headsets, that if it's given to the dementia patients, they can relive their memories, they can be more connected with their social and family life, and they can recollect what has happened in the past. So again, technology coming and doing a bit of good for this particular section of the society. Las Vegas Smart City. We worked with the Las Vegas and the mayor, and we had something pertaining to AI, ML, and the connected systems. So basically helping them to have decisions at the quick time, which basically means the people living there, the residents, the society, as well as the visitors can have everything at their fingertips. In fact, we are also doing a deployment of 5G in Las Vegas. So basically upliftment of the society, betterment of the society, and ensuring that everything is there at the fingertips. Smart agriculture, how can technology come in and help it? So basically we are looking at using this technology to ensure that which are the plants that can grow in the drought conditions. Phenotyping is something where through AI, you can identify a plant by the visual trace of it. And using technology, we're trying to find out which specific plants or species can survive and grow in the drought conditions when the environment, etc., is not good. Again, technology is playing a big role in terms across the sector. These are 5, 6 examples I picked up to give you how technology can be an enabler, can do good to the society if we have the intentions to do well for the society. Levels of consciousness we as the leaders have, okay? I'm conscious of the time, so I'm just speeding up. So levels of consciousness that we need to have a society. First is the egocentric. It's about yourself and self, okay? Most of us, including me, may be there. Second is the ethnocentric, where we talk about the tribes, we talk about the communities that we are part of, okay? The third one is world-centric. We go beyond that and we think that, the whole world is ours and we need to be concerned about their problems. Around 10% of the world population is in this world-centric phase. What we need to go and drive and what we need to be in the ideal state is spirit-centric. Spirit-centric is far, far more difficult. In fact, less than 5% are there. What we need to do is basically think of a wholeness which goes beyond the superficial divisions, where you feel that, the competition is there for the betterment. Competition is there for doing good to your business. Where you play a game not to win, you play a game for playing, okay? And this is the real purpose of business. Leaders who operate in this space with spirit-centric views are the ones who can call the shots for the long run because they have a different goal. They're not bothered about the narrow top line and bottom line. They're far beyond that. When we talk about triple bottom line, the triple bottom line is where those leaders I talked about who are in the 4th stage of consciousness, they basically look at a bottom line which has a social impact matrices. They look at a bottom line which has environmental impact matrices, and besides the financial matrices. So leaders who are into this particular space, they are looking at all the particular areas where it makes a difference, and they're looking at how can I be successful in all the 3 bottom lines. They're not concerned about only one bottom line. And if we all starting today here, sitting in here, because many of you may be a change maker, and if you need to be a change maker, we need to play that game. We need to play a game where we are not only concerned about the top line and bottom line, but as an ecosystem as a large, whether we are having a significant effect on the other 2 bottom lines. If we can measure that, we can record the growth and see whether we are making a contribution in these 3 bottom lines that I'm talking about. In the word of the father of the nation, the future depends on what you do today. The future depends on, after absorbing, are we just being a mute spectator or are we springing to action and doing something? So the future is in our hands. Everyone in the room, the future is all in our hands. We need to work, we need to get it done. And also in one more quote from the father of the nation, he said that be the change you want to drive, okay? So 2 dimensions I want to call out. One dimension is the time dimension, okay? We need to be doing things right now because the future, each delay in our work, the future is going to go back. And the second dimension is we sometimes give instructions. We sometimes say, okay, this will be done by my CSR team. This will be done by this team. We need to do it ourselves. It's the action on time and the action on we ourselves. If both the dimensions are taken care of and we are very, very vigilant of what we need to do because the future is going to be impacted if we don't act the way we want to do. Because if we are only bothered about the top line and bottom line, one fine day when the sustainability issue hits us, it will be a different world to live in. So that's in a nutshell, ladies and gentlemen, the topic that I wanted to cover. and I hope you had some understanding of what I'm going to cover. Thanks for giving me a patient hearing, and thanks for being a good listener. Thank you. I give you time back.
Thank you very much, sir. I'd like to thank Mr. Prasenjit Roy for that wonderful wrap-up in such a short time. Thank you, sir. May I request Mr. Pradipta Biswas, CFO, ABP Private Limited, to kindly come forward and present a memento to Mr. Prasenjit Roy.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thanks.
sir. And we request you to take your seat.